Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 152, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry, Plurk, and Instagram. Today is Thursday, February 12th, and I'm trying something new with the lighting because I realized the lighting really did suck last week. Oh my gosh. I don't always go back and watch the podcast over unless I have to look something up or I can't remember something, which was the case this week. And when I went to watch it, I think I went to oh no, I was watching it from YouTube. The lighting was terrible. Like the colors of things were just so blown out. And I think I may have processed a little differently, trying to compensate for what I thought was going to be bad lighting. And I might have messed with the brightness. So that may have been to account for it, because then I went back to the episode prior and it wasn't nearly as bad. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing, a quality thing there, or if it was just really crappy lighting. I'm trying new lighting today. We've got the window that's always here. My ceiling light's on that's always on. I've got my little lamp, but I purchased an OttLite, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Actually, I should also probably add that to my show notes so I don't forget to talk about new things. Sorry. Anyway, so I've got the OttLite right here next to me, like here. But I've got it like my goofy curtain thing that I often have up here. I sort of have it draped over to diffuse the light. So I have no idea how this lighting is going to turn out, but it can't be any worse than it was last week. Let's put it that way. So we've got a lot of exciting things to go on this week because I realized right as I was getting ready to record and to look to see who I wanted to say hello to, which is the new people who introduced themselves, and I'll do that right now. Let me say hello to Sherry from Ohio, Heather from Connecticut, Jennifer from Montana, and Susan. I'm not sure where Susan's from, but welcome. She introduced herself as well, so welcome to all of you, and welcome to anyone who has not introduced themselves in the welcome thread. You're welcome to do that, or not. It's up to you, but I'm glad you're watching if you are. But the other thing, I've been watching the main 90% knitting page because our membership numbers were getting really, really close to 2,000. And today I noticed we're at 2,000. We have 2,000 members in the group. Who would have thought it? Anyway, so that means it's time to do a membership milestone drawing. So I'm going to do one for numbers 1,901 through 2,000. And then I'm going to do another one for everybody in the group, just because I think 2,000 deserves an extra drawing. And the two things that will be gifts for the winners will be this skein of Inversibles, the Purple Scarlet Inversibles, and this skein of the bright green, dark green. It's actually a one-of-a-kind skein, but I figured with St. Patrick's Day coming up, it was probably a really cool self-striping to give away. So Valentine's Day kind of stuff and St. Patrick's Day. So let's see how that works. Let me do the drawings now before we get any further. Okay, I have to find all the right pages here. So to do the first one, I'm going to do random number generator, again, between 1901, which would have been the last time I did a drawing, and 2000. Okay, and the winner is 1931. So let me go to the member list. And there's two columns of numbers, and I always have to make sure I'm looking at the correct one. Okay, so it's this one. What number did I say? Hang on. 1931. I should write that down. 1931. Okay, 1931. Hang on, I'm getting there. 1931 is Knitting Fiona. Who is Fiona? Oh, I think she's Fiona, the yarn dyeing Fiona. So yay. Fiona, if you're watching, Knitting Fiona, even if you're not the one that I think you are, because I'm sure there's more than one person who watches the podcast named Fiona. Anyway, Knitting Fiona, congratulations. You are the membership milestone drawing winner for the last 100 people who have joined. So I'm going to just designate this as your prize, this set of Inversibles. So please PM me with your mailing address and I'll get that sent off to you. So congratulations. And now I'm going to do another one using the whole membership list. The whole one. Oh, it's a day to celebrate. So that would be 2 through 2,000 because I was number 1. And that is number 198. That was like a really early on member. I wonder if they're still around. I mean, like still watching. You know what I mean? Miranda J. So if you are Miranda, who is Miranda J, and you joined back on March 29th, 2011, congratulations, because you have won this Skein of Green self-striping yarn. So one of a kind. It's actually 3 of a kind because there was 3 in the set, but you know what I mean. It's not a colorway I do all the time. So please PM me with your mailing address and I will get that shipped out to you. So thank you to everybody who watches and who writes to me. I get such nice notes from people and who comments in the episode threads and everything. I appreciate all of you guys. I've been doing this now for 4 years and it's been great fun. I love doing it. I've always said I'll keep podcasting as long as it's fun, and it's still fun. So yay, even with lighting difficulties and technical issues and uploading problems. That's the thing. The other thing, the last 2 weeks I have not been able to embed the Blip embed code into the blog and make it work. I don't know why. It's always what I've used, and now suddenly the last 2 weeks it won't work. So I've been having to use the YouTube embed code. It works fine. So I don't know. The only thing is I think YouTube, I think the quality of the video isn't quite as good through YouTube as it is through Blip, but I can only do what I can do. So anyway, let's get back into the actual podcast stuff. And I'm really thirsty today. The air is so dry in here. Knitting. I have a finished object. Do you want to guess which one it is? Some of you probably already know. If you follow me on Instagram, you already saw it because I Instagrammed it yesterday. I have finished my Another Door Opens shawl. It's finished in that it's done being knitted. The ends aren't woven in, it hasn't been blocked yet, but the knitting is all finished. And so I can finally show it to you wide open like this. And you will notice that I did a contrasting color for the border, which I had not originally planned to do. But as I was getting closer to the border, I decided to. So let's talk about the pattern first. Okay, this is Another Door Opens by Sarah Bauer. And it's just beautiful, isn't it? I just love this pattern. Here, and I love the detail of this pattern, how the center spine, I still can't show it to you right because I can't hold it up and point, but the center spine opens up into that whole new panel down there, that other door opening. I love the illusion of that. I love how that looks. I used Three Irish Girls Adorn Sock in the You Are My Sunshine colorway, which I've talked about before. This colorway was limited edition. A portion of the proceeds from that sales of this colorway went to an organization that works with families who have lost babies, which I am not one, but I supported them by buying the yarn. I love how it knit up. As I'm looking at it, it almost looks like a slow motion capture of the night sky, the way the stars kind of slowly move across the screen. That's what that reminds me of. Someone else on Instagram said it reminded them of Starry Night. It kind of reminds me of that too. But anyway, since the colorway was You Are My Sunshine, and the concept was another door opening, I wanted that other door to open onto a border of beautiful yellow sunshine. Because remember, this was my New Year's Eve cast on. It was sort of my cast on, my shawl of hope for 2015. And I just wanted it to be bright and sunny there at the edge. So I used some of my bounce base in the Enclave of Yellows self-striping, which obviously over this many stitches, because it was almost 300 stitches by the end, you're not going to see striping, and you're not even seeing the variation as well, because the colors, I love how it turned out. Let's see if I get it closer, if you can see the variation in the different yellows that are in there. There's 3 different yellows. You're not seeing it too well there, but trust me, there are 3 different yellows. I love how it turned out. I can't wait to block it and really get the definition of the shape of the shawl. It's just gorgeous. Now, the interesting thing about this, here's the yarn that I have left over. It's about 30 grams. Now, the label for the Adorn sock said that it was 100 grams, well, 3.5 ounces, which is approximately 100 grams, and that was supposed to be 430 yards. Well, if I weigh the entire shawl, and I used about 18 grams of this yellow, based on what I have left from the cake, this yarn was way more. It was close to 150 gram skein. I think I mentioned this before when I was first starting to knit the shawl too, that I thought that this skein was bigger than 100 grams. And I don't know if that was intentional, if all of them were from that batch. I don't remember it being advertised that way, but I could be wrong. The label says 430 yards, but it was definitely more because by my calculations, I used about 450 yards. So I actually would not have had enough to do even what I did had I had a regulation 430 yard skein. So however it worked out, and I'm glad. And like I said, I used about 18 grams of the yellow, so I've definitely got enough left of that I see a happy pair of yellow socks in my future at some point in time. But anyway, I am so happy to have this off the needles. Not because I'm tired of knitting on it. I was loving it. Even as long as the rose got, I was so enjoying this pattern. I didn't make any major mistakes on it that I know of, which is always a coup when it comes to shawl knitting for me. The only modification I made was I did the border a little bit wider than the pattern called for. I think if I would have followed the pattern, I would have ended up with 2 garter ridges maybe. I think just 2. I just added a little bit more because I wanted it to just be a little bit wider. So that was really the only modification I made. I absolutely loved the pattern. I loved how the pattern was written. And my whole issue with not understanding the knit the row below thing for that increase in that little opened panel, I figured out. A couple of you emailed me. I looked some things up on YouTube and I figured it out. So that was not a problem at all. So yeah, it was great. I can't wait to have this blocked and to be able to just wrap myself in it because I love it. So anyway, that is my finished object. I did not really work on the Atlantic Current socks this week. I may have done a couple of rounds on them, but I didn't even bring them in to show you because they're the one thing that did not get my attention this week. Sadly, I'm still enjoying them. I just didn't have enough time because honestly, most of my knitting time and effort went into that shawl. And you know, I just realized I'm sitting lower than I usually do. That's because I'm sitting on one of my dining room chairs this week, not my usual desk chair. My desk chair is sitting in Emma's room because I have a ton of stuff spread out all through her room that I'm trying to organize, and I moved my chair in there so I could sit, and then I needed a chair for my desk, so I brought a dining room chair in here, and the dining room chair is lower. So I'll try to sit up really straight so I don't look like I'm a midget this week. I don't know. That's kind of bizarre. I just feel like I'm way down here. I'll try not to hunch. Anyway, yeah, the Atlantic Current socks, they're just sort of, they're sitting there. They'll get attention again, I promise. But what I did work on, I worked on the Mama Vertebrae, and I'm very happy with that. Whoops. I switched out needles because once I finished the shawl, they were on my longer US 6s, so they're now on here. Although I've now split off for the sleeve, so I could probably be working on it with the smaller ones and it wouldn't matter. Okay, let's see. When you saw it last week, it was where this marker is. That's where I had gotten. So I've added quite a bit. I would say probably, what, about 5 inches, 4 or 5 inches there. There are notes in the pattern saying that the armhole depth for this raglan sweater is fairly roomy, and so if you don't want a big roomy armhole, to maybe stop knitting about 10 stitches prior to where it says to stop increasing, to stop about 10 stitches prior to that, and then just make up that difference when you're casting on stitches at the armhole after you've put your armhole, your sleeve stitches on waist yarn. Well, I kept measuring and measuring and measuring because I don't want a super roomy armhole. And I stopped well beyond 10 stitches or before 10 stitches. Matter of fact, I stopped, I was supposed to go to 124 stitches. I stopped at 96. You're going by the stitches on your back, between the two back shoulder markers. That's where you were supposed to count stitches. So I stopped really early, but you know what, now that it's on the bigger needle, I've been holding it up, I've been measuring it, I've measured it against other sweaters, and I think it's going to be fine. Part of the reason I think it's going to be fine is I am not knitting to gauge. Gauge for the DK weight is supposed to be 22 stitches per the inch, so that's 5.5 stitches per inch, or 22 stitches over 4 inches. I'm doing it, I have a bigger gauge. I'm getting about 4.5 to 5 stitches to the inch. So it's bigger than it should be, which is actually good, because if you remember, I told you the biggest size of this pattern is actually about 5 inches smaller than what I am. So since I'm knitting it using the biggest size, but I'm not knitting to gauge, I'm actually over gauge, that should give me a little added width. So I think it's all going to be fine. I'm measuring a lot, and I think it's going to be okay. As I get a little bit further down, because right now I'm at the point where, like, since I've taken the armholes off, you know, or the sleeve stitches off, they're on waste yarn, you know, I'm just to the point now where I'm just knitting straight stockinette. So I think I'm going to do that for a while. I will put this on like another set of needles also, so I can totally stretch it out, and then I will try it on just to make sure. But I want to get a couple more inches of body knit first, just to, it's easier to tell when there's a little bit more body. And if I have to rip out and add more, I will, because like I told you last week, I am so enjoying knitting this. I love this yarn. It's Elspeth Levold Silky Wool. I'm on my second ball, or my second skein now, so of 5. So this is Elspeth Levold Silky Wool, color 50. And I love this yarn so much, I'd be happy to reknit that if I have to. Hopefully I won't have to, though, because I really also want to have the sweater to wear. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that did get work on it, obviously. Oh, and the Mama Vertebrae is by who? I didn't tell you who. I didn't have it in my notes from last week either, so Kelly Brooker. Okay, so Kelly Brooker wrote Mama Vertebrae. The other thing, oh, I didn't bring it in. You know what? You're going to have to hold on, because I have absolutely got to go get this. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I can't believe I didn't bring this in to begin with. My sheephead hat. I have made all kinds of progress on my sheephead hat, and I have got to show it to you. This is what I'm knitting for the stranded knit along, the stranded colorwork knit along. So this is how far I am. Look, I've got sheep legs and sheep bodies and the start of little sheepy faces. That's what those little white things are. It's the nose. So, yay! I am so excited, and I'm having so much fun with this. It's definitely, I'm getting into a rhythm. I am not adept enough to like actually like pick and throw, like with, I can't do that. But I have my own rhythm going. And there are areas where the floats are a little too long, so I'm having to cross over back there to carry the floats. I think they look okay. I mean, they don't look too messy, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to compare it to, because I don't do a lot of stranded color work. But I'm trying to remember to, you know, knit a few stitches and then stretch to make sure that my floats aren't too tight. But I'm having a lot of fun with this. And I'll tell you what, this OttLite has made a world of difference in knitting this pattern. This is the Sheephead Hat by Kate Davies, and I'm using all of the 9, I know, it looks like a mess right now, but the 9 natural colors of Jamieson and Smith jumper weight yarn. And having this light to be able to sit out in my living room at any point in the day, whether it's bright and sunny or dark and gloomy, or if I'm doing it at night, I can't believe how much difference it's made. So thank you. A lot of people wrote to me this past week saying how they have OttLites and they love them and couldn't live without them. And thank you so much for that, because I did have a 50% off coupon for Joanne Fabrics. And so I went there last weekend and I bought my OttLite. And I couldn't be happier with it. Plus, I get to use it to help light the podcast. I'm hoping that'll help. And I'm also hoping it'll be a good light source for when I'm taking pictures for shop update photos, because the light I use now really casts kind of an orangey glow, and I have to do a lot of editing. So I'm hoping maybe this might be a better option since it's a daylight color. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try that for the next update. Anyway, yeah, the sheep head hat is going along very well. I actually have not worked on it the last couple of days, but over the weekend I made a lot of progress on it. So I'm very happy with it, and I'm having fun, and I love the natural colors of the yarn. They are just, there's just something about natural colors of yarn, you know, natural sheepy colors that just make me very, very happy. So, the other project I'm working on, I didn't add it to my notes. That's why I was confused, because I knew I had another project. But anyway, I cast on a pair of Fruit Loop socks this past week. I think I mentioned those. They were on my goals for February, was to start Fruit Loop socks. And these are going to be for my daughter's friend Heather, who also helps me with some yarny stuff. So these are going to be for her, because every time she sees the Fruit Loops colorway, she says, "Is that Fruit Loops?" And she says it like that because she's a very quiet girl. She's so cute. But anyway, I say, "Yeah, that's Fruit Loops." And she likes Fruit Loops. So I told her I would knit her Fruit Loops socks. So that's the first one. I've got 2 color repeats so far. I told her it's going to take me a little while to get them done, but that's okay. She's patient. So Fruit Loop socks. I have to remember to add those to my list to my show notes. I'm a little disorganized today. I thought I had it going on, but I apparently don't. Okay, speaking of natural colored yarns, though, I showed you last week my my spinning adjacent project where I was combing Lincoln, the light and the dark colored Lincoln fiber together to make that mixed gray. Well, I started spinning it. I'm having so much fun with this. This was the other thing I spent a lot of time working on this weekend. This is how far I've gotten so far. Oh, good. I'm so glad you can see this, because in person I'm not seeing it quite as well, but I thought on the camera we might be able to see the color differentiations. So I started down here, and like underneath all of this is all of this. This is the first color, the light color. Let's see if I can get it to focus a little better. Oh, there we go. So down here, I started with the lightest color of gray, and I spun all of that, and then I started with my little nests of the mixed, which looks fairly dark on here, but the last color of the really dark Lincoln is way, way darker than that. So this is just a little tuft left, because I didn't want to lose my end down in there. It is spinning up super fine. Well, I don't know if that's technically super fine, but you can see how fine that is. If I can get it to there. I mean, look how nice and fine that is spinning up. And it is strong. I love it. And I'm spinning it worsted. You can't, it looks really fuzzy, like it's got a lot of halo, but I think that's just from this having been wrapped around it. There's not really halo much at all. It is spinning up really, really fine, really, really strong. I have not yet had it break on me at all as I'm spinning it. It has been a joy to spin. I've really enjoyed it. I'm doing it on my Traveler. I'm so in love with my Traveler again now that it's working. So anyway, I've got about 3.5 nests of my mixed Lincoln left, and then I will move on to the dark. And I'm going to just start on a new bobbin when I start again. My plan is to Navajo ply this to get a 3-ply. I will start with what I end with, and I'll start the 3-ply there, and then I can join it here. Lincoln, according to the Fleece and Fiber the Field Guide to Fleece that I talked about last week, or showed you last week, or read from, says that Lincoln doesn't necessarily felt well. So I'm not sure that I'll be able to do an actual spit join, which is what I do, which is what I do a lot of times if I am Navajo plying from more than one bobbin and I have to go from one to the next. I'll do a little spit join to keep it continuous. If I can't, that's fine. I will just I'll just tie a little knot. It doesn't matter to me. But I want to have a gradient. I don't know what I'm going to make from it yet. It really depends on what the yarn does once it's plied and once it's soaked. I want to see how much it's going to bloom and how much body it'll have at that point. That'll help me decide what I want to make from it. But I'm just having so much fun spinning this. What I kind of want to do is I want to take an official inventory of all of my natural colored yarns, because I showed you last week. They're mostly all in this little bin here. And they're not as squished in as you might think they are. They're all gently in there. I think I may have some more in the closet over here. So I want to check through all that, and I want to see what I have, because I do want to spin a lot more of the natural colored stuff this year. I've had so much of it for a while, and I'm always collecting more. That's what I look for when I go to fiber shows, fiber festivals and things. I look for, breeds that I've not spun before. It's fun. It's so interesting to me. And I feel like this is the year I really want to focus on that, learning more about the natural yarns. So anyway, okay. I think that's everything I worked on this week, which seems like a lot more than I feel like I worked on. That's been a theme lately. The Stranded Colorwork Knit Along is going strong. It started on February 1st and it goes through March 31st. So if you want to join us and you haven't had a chance to start anything yet, you still have plenty of time, because you can be knitting anything as small as a cup cozy up through a huge sweater. Anything in between there works, as long as it's actual stranded knitting, not not just slip stitch, like faux color work kind of stuff. So please join us. We have a chatter thread. In the main knit along thread is a chatter thread, and then there's the finished object only, no chatter thread. And we do have people posting finished objects, so that's exciting. I'm gonna do a shop preview, because there is an update coming up on Monday. But just to let you know, in case you're not going to watch all the way to the end, I am going to have some flurry kits, my flurry cow, which is a colorwork cow. So if you maybe want to grab one of those in the shop update on Monday and do that for the knit along, that's an option for you too. And then Melissa from Meltrian Designs, who I'm co-hosting the knit along with, also has a thread up about the knit along in her group. So feel free to participate from both of our groups. You're welcome to do that. Let's see what else. New podcasts. I have been trying to give audio podcasts another try. It's not that I don't like them. I have a really hard time focusing on an audio-only podcast. I don't know why, although when I was watching Amy Beth, her latest Fat Squirrel Speaks podcast, she was talking about having kind of the same thing with like needing a visual along with the audio to help her stay in tune with it, even if she's doing something else at the same time. At least I think she was saying that. Maybe I completely misheard her because I wasn't focusing and that was a video podcast. I don't know. But that's how I feel like for me, because I was actually, last night, I was sitting in bed and I was knitting and I had one of the audio podcasts on that I was listening to, and I found myself just like, my brain drifts. It's like not even that it's focused on the knitting I'm doing, because it was fairly mindless knitting. I think it was the Fruit Loop socks. So I'm not focused on the knitting. I could totally be focusing on my brain power on the audio podcast, but my brain is somewhere else over here. It's like I need that visual of being able to glance over and see what that person who's talking is doing occasionally. It keeps me tuned in better. So I am making this a challenge for myself to try to learn to focus better on just audio. But the two audio podcasts that I listened to this week were New Hampshire Knits, who I've heard talked about on a couple different podcasts now. Most recently, the Fiber Trek, she was talking about it, and Yarns at Yinhu. So those two are the ones that I'm trying to listen to, and they were both really enjoyable. I've only been able to listen to one episode each of those. I have to find another way to listen to them because I've been listening to them on my tablet. But for some reason, whenever I'm on the web page that has the audio dealio on it, I don't know if it's just a setting in my tablet or what, but the web page wants to like refresh itself. And so every time it does that, it stops the podcast and I have to start it over and then fast forward to where I was. It does not make for like easy listening, although it helps draw my attention back if I've wandered. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but I've also been watching some new video ones and I meant to make a list of them before I started and I didn't. So I'm going to just run down through my page here. The Mustache Yarns podcast, that's one that I've known about and I just haven't watched for a while now. I've watched a couple episodes and that's been really fun. And that's with Stacy and Steph, although the 2 episodes I've watched was just Stacy, so I'll have to keep watching or else go back and see ones with Steph too. Juliana's Fiber, I've watched a couple of hers. Knitting Annie. That's a relatively new podcast. Her recent one was episode 6, so she has not been around for a real long time with the podcast. I only got to watch a little bit of this one. I'm realizing that right now because I had to stop the podcast and go do something else. I couldn't watch more, so I have to go back and finish watching her episode because that's the only episode I've watched of her so far. She's very energetic and has a lot to talk about. Let's see, what else? Nick's Knits. It's KNICK''S Knits. He's a young guy. He does all kinds of projects. Very talented knitter. And I've only been able to watch one of his podcasts. I went back. He's on number 3 now. His latest one was number 3. I watched his first one, so I need to get caught up. But he was really enjoyable to watch. So check him out because I always think it's so cool when young guys are really into knitting. And there's so many good male knitters and male podcasters out there that I think it's fabulous. So, I think I mentioned Ichigo Abroad last time. Maybe that was it. Oh, Foxes in Socks. That's another one. They're not super new because they're on episode 26. But that's another one that I was watching and then I had to stop partway through. I think I got through most of the episode, their most recent one. But it's 2 people, 2 girls, and I don't remember their names. I'm really sorry. But they were fun to watch. They're also very happy and energetic and most podcasters are, though. There's not too many podcasters who just sit and like don't talk. Most of us are fairly energetic and talkative. That's why we do what we do. So anyway, I think those are all of the new video ones that I've watched. New to me, anyway, videos that I've watched in the past week. It's exciting. There are so many podcasts. And that's the other thing I've noticed. There are certain podcasts I watch where the podcaster starts talking about other things. I feel like there was another one. And I can't remember what it was. I'll have to think of it because I just thought of something else that one made me look up. And I'm going to tell you about that hopefully the next time I record because it was something I ended up mailing away for. So, sorry. But yeah, like Fiber Trek is a prime example because she mentions so many interesting things. Other podcasts, other resources, yarns, things that I don't know about. And it's like, I need to have a notebook next to me while I'm watching her podcast because I just want to write things down so I can go look them up later. Because usually I'm either dyeing or I'm rescanning or I'm knitting while I'm watching. So I'm not just sitting there to take notes. And I always think, oh, I'll remember that. And then I don't remember it. So I need to take notes more often. But anyway, yeah, I love my podcasts. They're so much fun. New things. Let's go to that. Ot lamp, I've already talked about. I love my Ot lamp. I'm so glad I bought it. I don't know what took me so long to get one. Yes, they're expensive, but so far in the few days that I've had mine, it's totally worth every penny. And if you get that 50% off coupon from Joann's, even better. My other new thing, you might have noticed, I'm wearing it. Okay, do you recognize it? Have you seen this anywhere else? If you watch Knitting in Circles, you've probably seen this because Darren has been knitting on it. Okay, I'm going to be silly because I'm so happy. I got my mail yesterday, and in my mail there was a little package, and the return address said Darren and his last name. I won't say their last name because I don't know if they advertise it or not. But anyway, it was Darren's return address. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I had just watched their last episode. I was a little behind, and I just got to watch their last episode. And they were saying how they had a bunch of packages to mail out to people. And Darren is doing this thing this year where he's knitting, he's doing gift knitting all year. And how he was planning to send this cowl out to somebody. And I'm like, I've watched him knit it. And then I got it, and it was for me. I'm going to tell you, I love Darren and Amy so much. I've met them a few different times. They are the sweetest people. They are good people. But it's like when you think of good people, Darren and Amy, their picture should be like right there. And they both said the yarn was Miss Babs. I can't remember the base, but it was the Biker Chick colorway, and the pattern is the upstairs downstairs cowl. And I think is that a Paula from Knitting Pipeline pattern? It might be. I should know this by now because I've heard him say it enough times. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Darren, for knitting this for me, and to Amy and Darren both, just for, because Amy said when they picked out the yarn they thought of me, and you know, it's so cool. Knitters are some of the kindest, most generous people in the world. And I'm not just talking about people who give you stuff, but they, you know, they're just kind and they're wonderful. And I feel so fortunate to have such good knitting friends. And I'll tell you what, this made my day. And whenever I wrote to them yet last night, I sent a note through Ravelry to say, thank you, I got my package and I love it. I said, I don't want to take it off because it just feels like a hug. Like it's a hug from my friends, and I just want to keep it around me. So I'm going to get all choked up. Anyway, it was a happy surprise. So thank you very much. And that's all the new things I have this weekend. Believe me, that was enough because they were perfect. Goals, honestly, I'm so not doing that well in my February goals, and February's already half over, for goodness sake, practically. Okay, well, that's not entirely true. Fiber related goals I'm not doing too bad on. I finished my Another Door Opens shawl. I've started to spin the Lincoln. I did not put any D-stash listings up last week, so there's a fail. Oh, finish Atlanta Current socks. I haven't even worked on those this week. Get halfway on the Mama Vertebrae and the sheephead hat. Well, I think I'm halfway through the first chart in the sheephead hat. So I'm making good progress on that. I'm making good progress on Mama Vertebrae. I've cast on the Fruit Loop socks. That was a goal. And I have not done any of the other goals. There was 3 other goals, haven't done them. So, and in my personal goals, we'll just jump into that. The only thing I did out of all of the things I had written down, excuse me, was I did start journaling. I've journaled a couple of different days. So usually when I journal, like I journal for a long, like several pages. Like it takes me a while. It's not just like a quick little sit down for 2 minutes and journal. Like I'm really like writing a lot of stuff. So I don't always have a ton of time, but it's been good. It's been good to get my thoughts out and help me organize my brain a little bit, because heaven knows it can use all the help it can get. But yeah, I've actually done some other things that I didn't have on my list. Like it thawed this past week, like almost all the snow was gone from the front yard. So I went out and I scooped a yard full of dog poop. Isn't that exciting? Yes, but it needed to be done. Muffin might be a tiny dog. I mean, she's a little miniature schnauzer, but boy, oh boy, can she poo. I know that's really gross, but everybody poops. So says the book. Yeah, I scooped up a lot, so. And it snowed again last night, like just a little bit, but it's covered everything, so everything looks all nice and pristine again. So I did that. That wasn't on my list. Oh, well, I had to split the firewood. That was on there. And you know what? I'm almost out of firewood. That stuff that I split, I don't know if it was just wet, because it's been sitting out for so long. I mean, even though I had it covered with a tarp, I think it may just be a little too wet because it's not burning well at all. So for all intents and purposes, I think my stove is probably done for the winter, unless I have another decent day that I can get out there and maybe split the stuff that I split, maybe split it into smaller pieces, because some of it I left in fairly big chunks, thinking if it's bigger, it'll burn longer, but it doesn't want to burn really much at all. It just sort of smolders and burns very slowly. It doesn't burn hot, so it's not really serving the purpose that I need it to. So it's going to make my basement really interesting to work in for the rest of winter. I have a little space heater that I use if I'm down there rescaning, but I think the rescaning part of life is going to move back upstairs for the remainder of the cold weather so that my helpers who come to work don't have to be in my cold, cold basement yarn dungeon. They can be upstairs working. So I'll make do. It'll work. However I have to do it. And my fans will run to dry yarn as they always do. It may just take a little bit longer to get things dry, I think. So I don't know. We'll see. I just know I'm not buying any more firewood. I've done the math on my electric bill, how much it's been since I've been using the fire versus having the furnace run all the time. And even though my electric bill has been lower, if I factor in how much I've paid for these 3 cords of firewood this winter, I'm really not coming out ahead. I'm kind of breaking even. So, I mean, the only benefit to that is that my basement has been warm. So, I don't know. I'm going to research pellet stoves, I think. I mentioned that last week. And maybe go that route, because I really would like to be able to move more of my dyeing operation down to my basement, since I have a huge unfinished basement. So I could do that, but I have to have a way for it to be warm down there. And I don't have a huge forest to go pick free firewood and cut it. I just don't. I wish I did. So I don't know. But cordwood is not cheap. So I tried. You got to do what you can do, right? Oh, anyway, Emma will be home in 14 days. 2 weeks from today, I will be going to the airport and getting her. Matter of fact, I think I will have already picked her up by now. Yep, let me see. What time does she come in? Oh no, she doesn't get in until evening. So, oh well. It's okay. I can't wait. I miss my baby girl so much. All right, I am actually going to pause here because I do have some stuff to show you that'll be in the shop on Monday. The update will be on the 16th, which is President's Day here in the United States, at noon Eastern. So if you want to hang on for that, please do. If not, I will see you next week. But otherwise, I will be right back with shop stuff. So hang on. Hi, I'm back. This is the shop news segment of the show. This is about the 4th time I have tried to start recording this, and I've had to stop every time. So let's see if I can get through this time. First off, if you are in the 6 Stripe Sock Club, your sock yarn club, your final shipment, your 3rd shipment, is going out tomorrow. So please be watching for that. I hope you love it. I've had a lot of fun creating these 6 stripe colorways. Eventually they'll make their way into the shop, but probably not for about a year. I mean, they're always exclusive to club members for at least 6 months, but usually closer to a year before I actually end up putting them in the shop. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I'm not planning on doing another club anytime in the very near future, but I am planning on doing another club later this year. I have not yet decided if it will be yarn or fiber or maybe a combination of the two, like you could pick one or the other. If you have a preference or you're looking for a certain type of club, feel free to, mention that. I'm always open to suggestions. So put it in the episode thread or in the what do you want to see in the shop thread, which technically a club isn't really in the shop, but it's part of the shop. It's part of Fiber Nymph Dye Works. So you could put that there or PM me, whatever. If you have an idea for a club, a kind of club that you've always wanted but have never found, I'd love to hear about it because maybe it's something that I could do. Anyway, that's club. Something new that will be going into the shop that is not a club per se, but it is going to be something just limited quantities, is something that I'm calling Minis of the Month. Mini skeins are obviously very much in vogue right now. Everybody is knitting with them. Everybody's making, all the little Afghan squares, the mitered square blankets, the crochet mini blankets, the hexapuffs. Just there's so many things that you guys are doing with minis. And whenever I gave away those bags of minis last week, which I'm still waiting to hear from one of the winners. The other one, your minis are on their way. But anyway, it really opened my eyes to how much you guys love mini skeins. So I thought I didn't really want to do this as a club, but what I'm going to do is every month, at least as long as this is a viable idea. If people don't like it, I'm not going to do it really very long. But I'm going to do what will be called minis of the month. And what it will be is 2 mini skeins. And by mini skeins, I mean approximately 20 grams or 80 yards. Approximately, because it'll be on my bounce base, not or. 20 grams equals about 80 yards in my bounce base. And there will be 2 mini skeins in the set. It will be a self-striping and a semi-solid that goes with that self-striping. Okay, it may be a self-striping that I already dye, like the one that's already in my shop and that people like. I'm not going to send you the ones nobody ever wants. You know what I mean. Anyway, it might be one that you've already seen and you might just like to have it for your blanket or whatever you're making with it. Or it might be a brand new one that I've never dyed before and you'll get a taste of it with a mini. Or it could be a mystery. I may not even tell you what it is when I put the listing up. I don't know. But each month there will be 2 different sets. There will be a lighter colored set and there will be a darker colored set. So you have your choice. You could end up buying one of each if you wanted. It doesn't matter to me. But they will each be a limited quantity. And I haven't decided how many I'm going to put up for grabs the first time. Because it's the first time and I just want to see what the interest is. But how this will work is what I will do is I will put the minis of the month listings up on the 1st of the month, starting in March. So March 1st will be the first time I'll do this. And that will be apart from a shop update, most likely. Yeah, because that'll be a Sunday. There won't be a shop update that day, most likely, I don't think. Anyway, the 1st of the month, the listings will go up. They'll go up as pre-orders. You can order them, and then they will ship out to you by the end of the month. And then the next month, we'll do it again. I just wanted to give it a try. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I have a lot of things in my brain that seem like a good idea, so we'll see how it goes. But hopefully, that'll be a fun way for you to get some new minis every month. And also, it's going to be affordable. That's the nice thing. Since they're just little mini skeins, it should be pretty affordable. And who doesn't like that? Alrighty. But the next shop update is actually going to be this coming Monday, the 16th of February, which is President's Day here in the United States. And it will be at noon Eastern. It's going to be a small-ish update, maybe a medium update. And I do not have... smallish. I'll go with smallish. I've been so focused on getting the club yarn done, and I'm working on a big wholesale order right now, so I've been trying to get like shop update yarn in between all of that. Anyway, there's not a whole lot of any one thing, but there's a lot of different things. So let's just start, and I'll show you what we've got. First of all, there will be 3 different colorways, 2 sets each of the color block sock sets, which you have seen before. I can't do them often, but I know whenever I do them, people tend to really like them. There will be 2 sets in the cereal colorway, which is my my Fruit Loops colorway with a darker twist. It's a darker version of Fruit Loops, which you've seen before. And it's a 6-stripe colorway when I do it as a sock yarn. So to make it 7 color blocks, it has this pinkish purple on both ends. Okay, so that's what's in the middle as well. So there will be that at the beginning and the end of each color block, and then the other 5 colors in between. So there will be 2 of those sets. There will be 2 sets of Bahamian, which, I'm trying to not pull it apart. So Bahamian, which you've seen, and these are so hard to wind into balls where you can see all 7 colors. But if you see inside there, it's a really, really pale green. I kind of changed it up. I've done Bahamian as a color block sock set before, but I've changed it up because I've never used that super, super pale green before. So that's in there this time. And then lastly, this is a color combination that I've never actually dyed up as a sock yarn yet. It will be eventually. But it's one that I just wanted to do because I love all these colors. And it's called the Colors of Happiness, is what I'm calling this color combination. And it will eventually be a self-striping sock yarn as well. So it's 7 really happy colors. It's this bright, it's a darker bright purple, a yellow, a bright pink, a medium peacocky blue, orange, lime green, and then this awesome purpley magenta color. So this is a really bright and happy sock set. So there will be 2 of those as well. So, okay, then in self-striping, let's see. Remember, I've done this a couple of times, so I've got stuff everywhere right now. In self-striping, I also have Serial Killer. In self-striping, there will be a couple skeins on Bedazzled and a couple on Bounce. This batch turned out a little bit lighter than the first batch. I'm not sure why, but it's still the darker version of Fruit Loops. So there will be those. There will be some more Advanced to Go, my Monopoly-inspired colorway. There will be 2 skeins on Bedazzled. There will only be 1 skein on Bounce, and let me tell you why. Because when we were reskeining this one, we had reskein fail, which happens sometimes. Unfortunately, in the process of the reskein fail, I lost about 100 yards in the middle of it. So this is only about 300 yards, and there are 2 knots in it. So this will be greatly discounted, both for the loss of yardage and to accommodate for having to deal with 2 knots in the yarn. Otherwise, it's fine. The colors are fine. The striping pattern's fine. It was just, you know, things happen. So, but those will be in the shop. Then I have a new St. Patrick's Day colorway. Up until now, I've only had one. I've had leprechaun socks, which I will dye some up for this year too. I just haven't gotten to them, and it won't be in this shop update. But this one is a new one, and it's only 2 stripes. But the 1 stripe is a 3-color variegated stripe. So just like Sad Panda has that blue stripe that is 3 different blues variegated together, this one will be 2 stripes, and the 1 stripe will be all this color, which is, how can I describe it? It's sort of a dark, it's sort of a medium blue sprucey green. If I could get it to focus on this, that would be even better. There we go. So it's kind of a medium blue sprucey green. And then the other stripe has this turquoisey green in it. Kind of a medium foresty green, and then gold, which I know the gold is sort of turning out to look greenish right now, but trust me, it's actually a gold. But because it blends with the greens, it's going to have green overtones. But that's why I'm calling it Hidden Treasure, kind of like the leprechaun has his treasure hidden in the forest. So anyway, I wish I could knit up a sample of this really fast for you to show you, because it's so hard to describe these variegated stripes. But I will try to put a good representation of it up on the listing so that you can at least have an idea of the colors in it. So there will be, I believe, 4 skeins of this. 4 or 6. I can't remember how many I dyed now. We'll see. Okay, self-striping. I think that's the only self-striping. There will be some inversibles, because I've just gotten finished dyeing up a bunch of special order inversibles. So if you're somebody who's waiting for an inversible that you have special ordered, be looking in your mail. It should be coming soon, because I think I've caught up with most of them except the very most recent ones that have been placed. So I'll be putting some of the extras up in the shop. What else? Oh, I have my Flurry kit. Okay, so this is my Flurry cow. You can find the pattern on Ravelry, but I'm going to be putting up 6 kits for this. And like I said earlier in the podcast, if you wanted to be taking part in our Stranded Color Work knit along, this would be a great way to do it. This is a really easy pattern. It's all charted, very simple. If you're a new person to color work, Stranded Color Work, this would be great for you. At any rate, there will be 6 sets. There will be 2 sets in this colorway that I've knit up, which is the Peacock Blue and Spring Water Blue. There will be 2 sets in sapphire blue and the white, like the natural undyed color. This is, I've seen this one knit up and I love the contrast with this one. And then lastly, this color combination I've not done before. This is grape juice purple and lime, but I think this will be fabulous too. So the kits come with the 2 skeins that you need, as well as a code. I'm putting my finger over this because there is actually a code written on here. But you'll get this card in the package that has a coupon code that you put into Ravelry to get the download for the pattern, since it's the yarn and the pattern in the kit. So there will be those. What else? Variegated. The only variegated yarn that I have is Ocean View, which is actually that blue stripe from Sad Panda. So this is the variegated of that. So I will have 2 skeins on Bedazzled, 2 skeins on my Sunshine base, which is the light fingering weight, 490 yards, superwash merino. 3-ply, it's so squishy. I love this base. And I also did a couple skeins of it up on Elegance, my lace weight, which is 875 yards. And it's 80% superwash merino, 20% silk. So if you like lace and you like the Ocean View colorway, there you go. What else? Semi-solids. I am working on building up the shop's stock of semi-solids. I wish I could do more of them faster, but I'm doing the best I can. I'm putting 4 of them up this week. I have them in worsted weight on my cozy base. I have them in bounce, which is fingering weight. And then I also have dyed them up on my new sport weight base, which is Traveler. I cannot remember if I have put any striping in the shop yet on Traveler. I don't think I have. I think the only people who have gotten striping on Traveler is club members, because I introduced this new base in the club this year. Or, well, this club, not this year. At any rate, all these colors I'm going to show you, they will be on all 3 bases. So there will be Earthenware Red. This one happens to be on Cozy, the worsted weight. There will be Golden Brown. This is on Bounce. And then there will be that new magenta color that I showed you that I love, and I want to dye everything in this color. There will be some of this. And this is the sport weight. Traveler is, compared to my Happy Camper, my old sport weight base, this is a lighter sport weight than that, but it's still a really nice sport weight. It still qualifies as a sport weight stitch count wise, but it's a little bit lighter than Happy Camper, but it's definitely heavier than a fingering weight. So I don't know. It's a really nice base. I like it a lot. I hope you will too. So it'll be, I've got that color and also turquoise blue in all 3 of those bases. So those will be in the shop. Lastly, what I have in the shop, I meant to grab something else, but I'm not going to do that now. There is going to be some spinning, some fibery things, and these are something I've never put in the shop before. Last year when I did the Spin Challenge Club, each month's shipment came with a challenge. It was basically a new technique or a new type of fiber that you would spin a certain way. There was always some sort of a lesson attached to it. One of the shipments was on blending, and I had included 4 different colors of fiber, 1 ounce each, and I had a worksheet, not a worksheet, but a handout in there giving you a lesson on different blending techniques that didn't involve any type of tool. Like you don't need a drum carder, you don't need combs, you don't need a blending board, you don't need anything to do these blending techniques. So I wanted to actually offer that to you guys, kind of take that lesson and give it to you in the shop. So that's what I've done. I have put together just some really fun random collections of fiber. They're all about a total of 3 ounces. They will have a collection of different fibers, which each one will be different, but the listing will tell you what the fibers are that are in them. But along with like regular fiber, these little bundles of regular fiber, they're also going to have some fun things that you maybe have never spun with before or blended. So let me tell you about those. Each one is going to have a little bit of bamboo, rayon of bamboo. It'll have a little bit of Firestar, which is the sparkly. It will have a little bit of silk noil, which if you've never seen silk noil before, it's this very, very nubbly, textury kind of fiber. And lastly, it will have some mohair locks. So each of these bags will have that. Some of them will have all different, well, they're all going to have different colors of dyed yarn. The whole point is for you to play. That's to learn different blending techniques, to play with yarn. You may not come out with any one big skein of yarn that you would like knit one item out of. You might. It depends on how creative you get. But even if you play and just end up with mini skeins of your own making, I think they'll be a lot of fun. And you'll learn different techniques. So that's one of them. Here's another one. This one, some of them will have some undyed fiber in it. Some will have this, it's undyed but mixed BFL in it, along with some colored yarns. But again, they'll all have those other 4 fun extra kind of elements. You know, here's the Firestar in a blue color. So, and you may look at some of these combinations that I'm putting in the shop. I have 6 of these all together, and again, they're all different. You may look at some of the color combinations and wonder, what was she thinking? But again, the point is, I want you to be able to see what the blending techniques are doing. So anyway, you will get these bags of fiber and goodies and the fiber extras, as well as the handout with the blending lesson in it. It'll be modified a little bit from what it was from the club, because the club one was specific to the fiber combination that I had sent for the club. The one that will come with these will be a little bit more general, or more, not general, but tuned to what I'm putting in these for the shop. So anyway, I hope you find them fun. I had fun putting them together, and I just hope you'll enjoy that. So anyway, that's everything that should be in the shop. If I think of anything else or find anything else, I'll put it in the shop and it'll be a surprise for you. That's as good as I can do right now. Again, the update will be on Monday, February 16th at noon Eastern. So that's everything I've got for you this week. I hope you are having a wonderful week. Stay warm. We're supposed to get some super, super cold wind chills tonight, so I'm planning to stay wrapped up in my house and warm. So anyway, that's it. Until next week, I'll see you later. Bye.